Hi folks, CodeTutor here and my name is Anil Deshpande. Welcome to another video on CICD in Android. In the previous video, we used the analogy of preparing a meal to basically quickly breeze through what CICD contains. In this video, it's all about how to get started with CICD. When you start a project, if your first step is let me start by writing a YML file, then that is not the right approach. It is going to fail. CI/CD scripts are not step one. They are automation of a process that already works. If you skip early steps, CI/CD will become flaky, that is unstable, and releases become also risky. So don't directly start from CI/CD from day one. Instead of that, think of CI/CD like a staircase. And the first step is probably most boring one, and that too on purpose. And that is local builds. Can you build the app on your machine reliably? Because continuous integration, that is CI, is basically your laptop, just slower, stricter, and less forgiving. If Gradle W assemble debug fails locally, continuous integration will also fail, just with more noise and wasted time. So use the Gradle wrapper, not whatever Gradle happens to be installed on your machine. A clean checkout should build. If your build needs tribal knowledge, that is only few people knowing how to actually make the build work, then that is an indication that it will fail in case of CI as well. So in your core tooling like Gradle, AGP, and that will help you to avoid works only on my laptop disease. Next one is making sure that local tests are working fine. If you don't run tests locally, CI becomes the place where we discover the problems, and that's very late. At minimum, unit tests. UI instrumentation tests are optional, but only if you can keep them stable. Please ensure that at least unit tests are running properly locally. Android already has Gradle test commands. Use them to check whether your unit tests are working perfectly fine. Use test debug unit test, connect debug Android test. If your tests are not running properly, that is going to destroy the trust. A pipeline nobody will trust becomes basically a pipeline that nobody follows. Everybody will try to bypass it. So be explicit. What is a must pass versus nice to have, so that it gives a clear idea to the developers what is the minimum code coverage that you are expecting. Once the local tests are ensured to be running, the next step, I would say, variants and flavors. What are variants and flavors? Depending upon environment and various other considerations, you want to generate multiple builds. Android rarely ships a single output. We have dev, stage, prod, UAT, then you might be having some white labels, feature toggles, or feature flags. But always remember, don't create flavors for the fun. Every flavor is a lifelong commitment. If your application doesn't need flavor, it is perfectly fine. Build type, whether it is a debug or a release, whether it is a dev, stage, production, make sure that the variants that you are building are actually running, especially the ones that are going to be built by CI. Config differences such as URLs, feature flags should be safe and testable, not hidden landmines. So that's cool. Now we standardized the correctness, not the code correctness. And that's what is lint or linting. Lint is a fast feedback. It catches Android specific mistakes and bad patterns early before they become a bug. You have to decide lint strictness early, because when you start using the linting frameworks, it might be having certain default configurations and all of them might not be relevant in your case. So make sure that you configure it as per your needs, and don't surprise block the team on random day, because that is going to basically create a problem with the delivery team. So run lint on your key variants, usually debug. If you use KT-lint detect, good, just keep it manageable. Don't keep too many gates, because if you do that, people will start bypassing the gates. So once the linting is done, next step is SEA. SEA is a overloaded term here. Some people take it as static code analysis, and security teams typically mean software composition analysis. And in CI/CD, we want both. What is static code analysis? You basically scan your code for deeper issues beyond linting, like code smells, complexity, vulnerabilities, risky patterns, those kind of things. And software composition analysis is all about ensuring that whatever the dependencies, libraries, and frameworks that you are using, they don't have any vulnerabilities or license surprises. There are tools, of course, that are available that you can use to do this. You have to spend some time on what configurations you have to enable and disable and what really matters to you, because these tools suddenly start giving a lot of warnings, and if there are too many warnings, then people might start actually ignoring them. So once we have added these checks, the next challenge is consistency, and that is the next step. Every time you give the same input, it should give you the same output. You have to basically ensure that your Gradle wrapper, JDK version, Android SDK setup, they are all locked down. All the dependencies are locked down. Once the builds are consistent, now we can talk about releases properly, because releases need a versioning. I'm pretty sure you are already aware in Android we have version code and version name. If you don't define a strategy, release becomes completely chaotic and debugging can become archaeology. So decide on how version code is generated. Is it a CI number? Is it a timestamp? Is it a git commit count? Just pick one, whatever that makes sense. Decide how version name is generated. Is it based on tags? Is it based on branch names in your GitHub or Git or whatever the version control that you are using? Traceability matters, because whatever the APK, AAB, that is artifact that gets generated, you should be able to trace it back to from where it came from which branch, which tag, which commit. So if you want to avoid manual bumps, which you should as a part of CI/CD implementation, finalizing the versioning strategy is very, very important. So versioning defines what we ship, but now we want to handle what we must never leak while building and shipping. And what are those? Those are secrets. The number one rule that everybody has to follow is secrets should never be committed to Git. Never. When I say secrets, basically I mean API keys, key store passwords, account JSON files. Use CI secret stores. All GitHub, GitLab, GitRace, they all provide vault solutions. You have to keep your secrets in the vault and just pull them during the build time. Don't leak secrets in the log. Avoid echoing environment variables. Be careful with stack traces. And you should have separate secrets for environments. Now that secrets are handled, signing becomes the obvious step, because signing is basically secrets plus policy. All Android applications must be signed, even the ones that you are executing on your local Android virtual machines or devices, they are also getting signed with debug signs. So Android releases must be signed, and losing control of a signing key means losing control to updates. It's not oops, it's game over. So don't make releases signing depend on one person's laptop. Store the key store safely, encrypted base64 in CI secrets or vault approach that I was talking about earlier. Now everything is defined and repeatable. That is build, test, lint, SCA, that is static code analysis and software component analysis, versioning, secrets, signing. It is at this point the CI comes. Now CI is not magic. It is just the automation of all the previous steps that we were talking about. Continuous integration is not our quality gate. Continuous integration is automation of our quality gates. Every PR commit runs the same checks and gives the consistent results. CI is not about saying whether it is a pass or fail of build. It should also produce outputs that matter. That is APKs, reports, mappings, and whatever the output that we get out of pipeline, they are called as artifacts, and we have to have a strategy on how to manage these artifacts. At the end of the day, artifacts are what we ship and what we debug with. If you don't manage artifacts, you will eventually ask which build did QA test, and nobody will know. Once we build reliably, validate, and store artifacts, the deployment becomes a controlled final step. That is CD, continuous deployment. The whole goal of CD is push artifacts to the right destination automatically with proper guardrails. CD is how artifacts move to users, testers, internal alpha beta users. Always implement approvals and safeguards. And every time you are doing releases, you need to write notes. They are usually called as release notes. And doing it manually is cumbersome. So you have to automate the release notes generation as well. It should be very easy to trace who released what, when, and from which commit tag. If you build the staircase in the proper order, then CI/CD becomes boring, and boring releases are good releases. Any release that needs lot of drama are bad releases. Now you might be wondering, as a part of the CI/CD series, what all things that we will be covering. Some of these things, as an Android developer, you would be already knowing, and certain things we have already covered on CodeTutor. For example, creating a local builds is nothing fancy. Running the unit tests locally, that also we have already covered on CodeTutor as a part of unit testing series. Linting, static code analysis, we recently covered on CodeTutor. And then we recently did a video on how to fix flaky builds. That is all about reproducible builds. So out of all these 12 steps, 5 are already covered on CodeTutor. Now we will be focusing on the topics which we have not discussed so far. I want also input from you guys as to which are some of these topics that you are really keen on learning. So feel free to comment down in the video below on what topics that you are interested in. Until then, stay tuned. Let's catch up in the next video. Brings us to the end of this particular video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye.